I want to talk about why stud pilot rims suck. What are stud pilot rims? Most new trucks have hub pilot centering hubs, but stud pilot centering hubs center the rim with the studs. Like many cars do, you would think it's a great idea. This is an old design. Hub pilot centering hubs have taken over. So let's get into it. Okay, if you're trucking and you bend a rim and you need a stud pilot rim, chances are it's going to be hard to find at a TA, Petro Shop, Love's, anything like that. They're probably not going to have it, especially if you need a 24/5 rim. These rims are not cheap. The parts used to mount the stud pilot rims are very expensive. These days, these right here cost about $10, $12 a piece. And that's without the nut. Each nut is about $10 a piece. Okay, you can see it right here, how it centers the rim. Now, why do stud pilot rims really suck? At least for 2022. I suppose if you had cleats and spacers in the 80s and you were upgraded to this would be pretty amazing. Okay, but here's a few things just I want to run by that why these can go terribly wrong. Okay, now, when these rims are machined, these holes have to be precisely centered, okay? There's 10 of these holes. All 10 have to be precisely centered. If any of them are out of center, and for example, if that nut is tightened first, it can throw the others out of line. The other problem is, so it's machined, but it's aluminum. And you guys know how aluminum is. Aluminum wears out, okay? Very quickly. So you can't even count on these holes being centered over time. So on this truck right here, I have spun the tire with it jacked up, and this is actually the tallest side, the high side. This is the low side. This is the high side of the tire, sticking up this way more than this side. And you can see on the stud pilot hub here, we have a gap here and here, and no gaps on the bottom, okay? So this hub right here actually could center a rim, and it's accurate because here's the gap, and this is the high side of the tire. This is the tire hop, okay? This is what's causing tire hop. This is heavy. This is throwing all this out of balance as it spins. It's causing vibration. It's no good. So the problem here is when these studs were torqued down years ago, they didn't center the rim to begin with. It's possible that when someone went to torque the first stud nut, he could have torqued one too much, and it could have threw off the centering of the others. And as the other ones went in, they basically chewed into the aluminum to just find their way in, which also threw off the centering of the rim. So you can see it comes down to precise machining and everything. And over time, these just corrode, of course, like any other rim. But you just can't count on these if they're old. Now, if I had old rims on a hub pilot centering hub, I could still move the rim up and down to make up and reduce the tire hop. But this makes it more difficult. Now, it's still possible, so this is what needs to be done. These all have to be loosened, okay? And what has to happen is a shim has to go in the gap here and here. And then these all have to be retorqued, and then you have a chance of actually centering these. Retorque them, check on your shims, see how it seats, spin it, see if it's centered. At that point, you would have to do the same thing for the next rim that goes on top with the shims. Otherwise, just buy new rims or buy new hubs. I mean, that was one method of doing it. That's sort of a ghetto way to do it, but it can be done. But in general, stud pilot rims are just hard to work with. It's a pain in the ass and mechanics don't like them. I don't really think they charge more to take them off, but it's a pain in the ass. Okay? They can get stuck, the parts are expensive, I'll give you an example here. So I took this one off. You guys see how there's nuts on here and there's nothing there. You can see this one is stuck on the rim, okay? And it's stuck, so you need a special tool to get it off. I can probably figure something out here to get it off. But yeah, for a mechanic, I mean, it's double the back-breaking labor, basically, because you have to tighten these, put the rim on, and do it again for each and every wheel. So if you're thinking about buying a truck that has stud pilot rims, just beware. I would jack it up, I'd spin it, I'd see how they are. I would check out the outside of the rim. You can tell on mine, well actually, this one was swapped over to a hub pilot centering hub. But you can see on the other side, this is a telltale sign. These things are kind of old. You can see the nuts are chewing into the aluminum and it's wearing out. So is it going to be centered? I don't know. This one is a lot better than the other side though. I can see gaps all around the edges when I look. So this one is much centered than the other one. So that's it. You be the judge. If you're thinking about buying a truck that has stud pilot rims like an old Freightliner Century, just be aware because it might end up costing you a lot of money in the end. If you're going to replace the hubs, that's expensive. If you do it yourself, yeah, it's not too bad, one at a time, but it's certainly expensive anyway because each hub's like $500. So you could just replace the rims, but you might have to deal with the same problem over time anyway. You're really probably better off not buying a truck with these, but if you really like the truck, then yes, you can get the right part, which is, it's no big deal. I went to Freightliner, swapped out. This is a hub pilot centering hub on this one, and it wasn't too bad to install. But if you do it on every one of them, then and you swap out rims, you'll be good.